Inside Adventure program? How have you experienced the Inside Adventure program?
Tell me when.
Quite early.
You do this often, right?
Sometimes, not often, but
When I do this, I get so bad. Like they have to repeat me 20 times because I get stuck in the middle of it.
Okay.
yeah.
So,
Okay.
go for it.
So the leadership program to me is all about challenging yourself, discovering yourself and discovering your abilities and vulnerabilities, and to constantly push yourself to do things that you may be feeling uncomfortable with, but that's okay. Basically, to me, it was all about being comfortable, being uncomfortable, if that makes sense.
Makes sense, very much so. And what have you learned from your side and from your, as a person and as a leader? What are the main learnings you've had?
One of the main learnings I had from this course was to be resilient as a leader, and that's really important, to keep going and to keep pushing yourself and to keep failing and recognizing it's okay to fail as long as you give 100%, and eventually if you keep trying you will succeed. And I think it's just, it was a huge self-discovery about, pushing myself to do things I don't really feel comfortable with, and then realizing once I've done them, actually that wasn't that bad and it wasn't actually that difficult to do, and it made me realize that I should have probably started doing all of these things that I felt uncomfortable with a lot earlier on, and it made me question, why didn't I do this that way? So it was very unusual for me to it was a huge self-discovery, I guess.
And to future participants, what would you tell them in terms of what's the advice you would give to a person that is starting the program? What would you think is the most helpful tip or thing that would help them really take a maximum out of it?
My tip to future participants of this course would be to go with it and be scared, that's okay, but push yourself to do something that you don't necessarily like doing, whether that's speaking in front of a big group, or whether it's raising your concerns, or whether it's pushing you to the limits and doing something really scary that you don't necessarily feel comfortable with. Just go with it and at least try it, and then if you don't succeed, that's also okay, and you can take a learning from that as well, and don't beat yourself up about it, because it will happen. It happens in your personal life, it happens at work life. You won't always succeed, and that's okay. Just take the learning from it and try and give your 100%, and that's all a leader can ask for, I think.
And so when you look back at how you started, the kind of Tammy before the program and Tammy after the program, would you say there is maybe that others would feel a difference, or whether you feel a difference? Do you see any, if you had to say before and after?
So in terms of how I felt before and how I felt after the course, I think before I thought I was a okay leader, but I was probably lacking some confidence in certain areas. So for example, having maybe difficult conversations with staff members, or speaking up in meetings and kind of raising your concerns and raising your voice about something that you may feel passionate about, which was a great shame, and I always felt that was holding me back. And through the course and through the individual coaching sessions, I was constantly challenged to think about that and try and change that way of thinking. And just by trying it out, I actually realized, well, it's actually not that hard, and I can actually do that. So I think the course made me a lot more confident and comfortable in terms of finding the courage to do things that are maybe outside of your comfort zone.
And what's next for you, like in terms of your leadership and what you want to give to yourself, Tammy, individually, and also to you as a leader within the organization and Save the Children? What's next for you?
So what's next for me as a leader? It's actually quite good timing because my team is undergoing a lot of restructuring, and I'm currently recruiting quite a lot of new team members. So this is a perfect opportunity to put into practice what we've been learning over the last 12 weeks. And I really want to try and implement some of the learnings and some of the exercises we've been doing. So, for example, with the color cards, sensing the mood in the room and using that to my advantage. Also giving praise and appreciation to team members. I always say thank you and good job, but sometimes I feel like maybe people don't take it seriously. And I've noticed that when I actually take people aside and I tell them without any warning, hey, I just wanted to say thank you for doing that. It was a real good job and it had a huge impact on me. The way you word it can make a really big difference, and people felt really touched, and it motivated them to keep going and to keep doing a big job. So I want to use that technique more as well in the future.
Beautiful. And last question, you take a step back, I like to press pause, take a step back, look at Save the Children as an organization, and also as an organization in the 21st century that is going to be giving us many challenges. What do you want for Save the Children? If you take a step back, look at it, what do you want for your organization?
What I want for Save the Children is that we keep doing what we are good at. We are being the voice for children, and we are supporting children, vulnerable children all over the world, and we are good at it. And I want us to be proud about that. And we've had quite a lot of negative media coverage recently, and I think a lot of people felt a little bit taken by that. It was personally challenging, but it was also questioning a lot of people. What kind of organization do I work for where this happens? And I think people forget that we can actually be proud of our work. We've been doing an amazing, we've been operating for almost 100 years now. And only last year we responded to over 80 humanitarian emergencies. That's incredible. And it's, I think we as leaders need to make sure that the people we're working with are starting to feel proud working for Save the Children again, and don't forget all the good things we are doing and that we have achieved in the past. Yes, there might be some negative press coverage about us at times, but we mustn't forget what good we do in the world for children.
And is there any other final words you want to say, or maybe that we didn't cover? Maybe there's nothing.
My final words is just thank you. I was very cynical and a bit critical at the beginning of the course, and I wasn't really sure where this was going. But I said to myself from the beginning, I just want to go with it and see what happens. And I'm so glad I did, because it had a huge impact on me. It really did. And I'm not just saying that because you're sitting here. It just showed me sides of myself and of my colleagues that I wasn't necessarily aware of, and it was just beautiful to witness everybody being vulnerable and emotional and angry and happy, and we really gelled and bonded as a team as well, which I think will be really important for our future work, because we are the next generation of leaders for Save the Children, and I think we as a group can be good leaders and we can achieve good things, hopefully.
Beautiful.
Yeah, one more thing. Yeah, for people who knew you beforehand, who knew you well, and know you now, what would they see as the biggest difference in you before the course and after the course? What do you think they would see as the main difference?
I think the main difference other people would see in myself is probably before I'm a more quiet person usually. When I'm in meetings, I often sit back and I listen. I'm a very good listener, but sometimes if there are a lot of people in the room who are domineering the conversation, I may not always step in and say something myself. But I think now I'm doing that more and more, and the impact that's having is that people actually look at me and say, "Oh, Tammy, you know, that's actually a really good idea," or "That's where did that come from?" And it's kind of, I think people are realizing, I guess, a more confident Tammy, and yeah, being more comfortable in pushing myself. I think that's the biggest difference, probably.
Thank you
All
very
right.
much.
You may go to the toilet.
Thank you.